I am Cesar Torres, also known as Cesar Towers. I am the host of Passionates. And, we're doing these special Game of the Year episodes, and I thought it would be cool if we did something a little bit special for these episodes. So I thought, let's just do some fundraisers, some charity fundraisers. Originally, I was just going to do one, but it turned into three. And these are three charities that I really love and appreciate, and I feel like they could use our help this holiday season. The first one being Red Nose Day, Direct Relief, and then Gamer Outreach Program. Um, Direct Relief is working hard to combat COVID 19, and I know there's a vaccine on the way already, but by the time that's mass produced and it's calmed down, we still have a long way to go from that. So, helping Direct Relief any way we can could possibly help calm this down, especially during the cold season. Um, the next charity is Red Nose Day. Red Nose Day is trying to fight childhood poverty around the world, trying to discover vaccines for diseases in Africa, trying to feed homeless kids all over the United States, and just doing anything they can, honestly, to help a child get the life that they deserve. And Gamer Outreach Program is similar, except they provide video games for kids in hospitals that need that distraction, need that help from a video game to help them get through it. Because being in a hospital is not easy, and playing games just makes things a little bit easier, And so I ask you this holiday season, if you can, just spare $1 to one of these charities, just spare $1 to all three, or even if you're just able to share them, I'd really appreciate it a lot. And with that, here is our Game of the Year discussion. Enjoy the show. Thank you very much. Then you just need a third favorite and a second favorite, and then any other one you want to talk about, and then your favorite. If that makes sense.
So Fall Guys is Game of the Year. So.
And with that, hello and welcome to the Patch Notes Game of the Year discussions. Today I'm being joined by Al the Predator Tribesman and Mr. Phillip J Woodward of Simply Sassy, which I guess I'm a part of. Sometimes I forget. How are you guys doing today?
I just want to say, Cesar, you're pretty good.
That's a nice microphone you got there.
And he's the one who doesn't have. He's the one without the wave 3. So
that's true.
We actually had a conversation not too long ago that my microphone is great for other things, like because you can hear that's me tapping, like barely tapping on the other side of my desk. So I really got to watch for sounds and stuff like that. But it makes for sexy voice sounds.
Ooh.
I just want to give you a little bit of ASMR right now.
I hate it here. I hate it here.
I apologize. You know me. Whenever I'm on a show, it goes off the rails pretty quickly.
That's what I love about you. But I know the feeling. Like whenever the microphone is far away from me, I feel like I can be like bombastic and funny. But like whenever I'm right up on it, I feel like I have to be calmed down and just be like, yeah, talk down in this level.
You get that.
You do the radio voice. That's because these look like radio microphones.
That's what I was thinking. That's what I thought when I like first put it together. I was like, I feel like I'm a radio host.
NPR.
But this year has been an interesting year, hasn't it, fellas?
Yeah,
very
it's I'm actually looking over the list of all the games that I played this year, and I gotta say, like, there's stuff here that I would not have thought came out this year.
Yeah, and it's very interesting, like the light of the environment that we lived in this year. But as horrible as the world was this year, it's also led to some great things. For example, without this year, I would not have met you guys, and
that's true.
I'm very thankful for that. I'm very thankful for having you guys in my life, and I'm very thankful for the games that we played along the way. To kind of like help us get through it, because this was
playing games with my heart.
Because this was a great year for games, whether it was like games that came out or just catching up on old games too. Even though Al only played like 3 games.
Hey, I played a lot of Mario Maker too.
Hey, you know what? That's a solid
game.
That's a solid game
And I
right there.
had to double check, and apparently it's a 2019 game.
It's 2019 game, but it's still amazing. And
That still
from what I
counts though.
understand, this is a game that you discovered this year. It doesn't have to be a game
Yeah,
from
that's the
this
thing.
year.
We're talking about games that we played this year. They don't necessarily come out this year. You could have had a game that came out in 1987 for all I care. So it's like,
Right.
Al-
But
Also,
does it have to be that we discovered it this year though? Because I've been playing Mario Maker for a couple of years.
have you played any of my levels, Al?
you have levels in Mario
I
Maker?
don't think I have.
Heck yeah, I do.
I didn't even know that.
Send me the code.
We're
I'll
gonna
play
have,
them later on stream if
yeah.
anything.
All right, yeah, I have my Switch over here. I'll do it when we're not busy.
We should stream that. Like you should be on voice chat for that.
That'd be fun.
What was I gonna say? I always have that issue where I have a train of thought. The idea is like, yes, initially you're supposed to discover the game this year. Like you're
Okay.
supposed to, like, the first time you play it is supposed to be this year. And with that, there have been a lot of great games and a lot of time to play great games this year too. So I want to hear what you guys have been playing, and share what you games that you enjoyed this year. So I kind of want to start with Phil, Mr. J Woodward.
Yeah.
What is Phillip J Woodward's third game of 2020?
Third game of 2020.
Yes.
This is really hard for me because there's a lot of great games that came out this
ton.
year. Like even now, more recently, I've been playing like Cyberpunk, and I've just recently gotten really into Grindstone, and Grindstone's been a lot of fun.
We'll get to honorable mentions later, but yeah, it's important to call
Yeah.
out.
So like I'm still kind of navigating how I feel about this year and the games that I've played this year. But it really comes down, I think, to Demon Souls and Ghost of Tsushima as my
Number 3.
kind of two choices I'm trying to like narrow down for number 3. I will say Ghost of Tsushima I platinumed. That was an absolutely amazing game to me, and I just kept going and playing. But at the same time, there are kind of technical faults with it, where certain missions can feel super repetitive, and I can see how people could fall off of that. There's a lot of bloat to the game that I think is unnecessary. Even the new Legends mode, as fun as it is, I don't feel like it was a necessary addition to the game. However, I love the fact that people have kind of rediscovered Ghost of Tsushima because of it. On the flip side, Demon Souls is a fantastic experience and game. However, it's always hard for me to put a remake of something kind of on a list for my game of the year, just because they had a template to work off of.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
And because of that template, like it's hard for me to really gauge that as like a game of the year. But since I'm kind of considering this more of like the games that I really enjoyed this year instead of like trying to define it in an industry standard. So that's why I'm putting it on my list. And my number 2 is probably going to shock you, so I can't wait to get there. But as far as Demon Souls goes, it is faithful almost to a fault, and so it's got these great elements.
So is it Demon Souls?
They made all new animations for it and did all these great things, but then they kept a bunch of the stuff from the old one. And it is really hard. It is really hard for me to decide between the two. But if I had to make a decision, I think I'm gonna stick with Ghost of Tsushima.
All right.
I think.
So what pushed you to go for Ghost is because the template thing? Is that why you went with that one?
Ghost of Tsushima for me, I think it's mainly the story.
And also, yeah, for people that don't know what Ghost of Tsushima is, can you please explain it?
Yeah, absolutely. So you play as a samurai who has been raised by his uncle, and his name is Jin Sakai, and he is a very faithful samurai, like to the core values of a samurai. And the oh my god, my brain just died. Is it the Mongols, I believe, are attacking Japan,
I think so.
and they are invading, and so the game opens with you fighting on a beach as the Mongols are landing and invading. So anyway, uh you basically fall in that battle and somehow survive, being saved by um, someone who finds you and
Mm.
figures out that you're still alive, and they nurse you back to health. And then from there, you start to kind of break your core values of being a samurai, realizing that you need to do more than follow the samurai code to save your country if you're going to survive this, and
Mhm.
you know, take back the island of Tsushima. And that creates a bunch of conflicts that are both kind of good and bad for the story. I can see where people come from when they say they don't like it and whatever and whatnot. But I ended up really enjoying it. I love Kurosawa films, and anything to do with kind of that era, whether it's anime that deals with that era or movies that deal with that era, stuff like that. So it was a lot of fun for me. I loved kind of jumping into that world and running around, and I just turn it on sometimes because it's freaking gorgeous.
Mhm.
Just turn it on and run through it sometimes.
It's a
Kill a
very
couple
it's
of
a
Mongols
very
and then bounce.
it's a very beautiful game. It takes a lot of inspiration from like samurai movies and
Yeah,
that kind of
yeah.
stuff.
Like I said, Kurosawa films
Yeah, and
and whatnot.
it's a very beautiful game to talk about Anaconda, the movie franchise. Over.
Yeah,
Do you,
absolutely.
do you,
I heard that happen a few times.
yeah.
Uh,
Al, do you know about this?
The Please Be Excited plays
Yeah,
stream.
yeah. So for people that don't
When you
know,
were when you were trying to
yeah,
cut the
Ben was
curtains with
playing.
the samurai sword.
Ben was playing
I'm hiding actually.
Ghost of Tsushima early, and Phil and I were in a voice chat with him, and there was a really beautiful scene, and Phil did Solid Snake's voice, and he's like something 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 anaconda deep down in my mouth or something like that.
yep, that
And
happened. That was the thing.
Of course you did, Phil.
it's a beautiful game, you know. Had to ruin it somehow.
There's nothing more that I like other than crawling through the grass and finding a nice long anaconda and sticking it down my throat.
Oh God.
Thank
okay.
you, Solid Snake. I appreciate that. Semi-solid Snake. I mean, semi-solid.
Some people call me Chub Snake.
There it is.
The chub.
I was waiting for
Uh,
that because I would have said it. Had you not said it, Phil.
I got you.
So, are you? I've never like thought of you as a fan of like the open world adventure games. Is that like the kind of game that you like?
No.
So, what drew you? What drew you to Tsushima?
There's very few like open world games that I truly enjoy. I think Skyrim is one of them. I think obviously Second Son is one of them. Infamous Second Son, and this one is one of them.
So, what was it about this
Um,
game that like you were like I have to play this game?
I mean, literally, it's just the subject matter for me.
Oh, the
It
Kurosawa
was
films.
yeah, it's kind of the role play idea of being a samurai, and traversing this beautiful world and traveling across all the beautiful plains that they have in that game. And yeah, just kind of living your samurai life. I wish I wish in that respect it had more, customizable story elements, stuff where you could make decisions that kind of changed the course of the story, since they're
Hmm.
basically doing historical fiction anyway.
Yeah.
I feel like they could have taken a little bit more, taken more liberties with the story in that respect, but at the same time, it's still a great fun world to be in, and that's really what drags me in. Same thing with Second Son. It was the subject matter that really brought me in. And Skyrim obviously is just kind of living in that world, but that's what really captures me in open world games like this.
And
It's
so,
whether or not I want to live in that world.
uh, you had seen like the gameplay before, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
before, would you say it lived up to your expectations? Did it exceed them? Did you, was there
Yeah,
anything like you feel like you missed out on? Like, tell me about that.
no, not at all. I think that they showed the game off really well. I think that they showed enough to it kind of kept you wondering. Unlike, okay, I don't want to get on the cyberpunk bashing train, but
Do it. No, just kidding.
Do it.
Cyberpunk, when they showed this game off, they showed you a very immersive world. And they set a lot of expectations on things that were just starting missions. So, for example, when you first go to the Ripper Dock in one of the first trailers that they showed for the game, you sit down in his chair, he pulls your eye out, your screen goes dark, and then he upgrades your eye augmentations, and then does like some surgeries on your hands and stuff, because
Surgery
those are the choices
station.
that you made. And that sets up this expectation that every time you go to a Ripper Dock in the game, you're going to get to see those customizations being added to your character as you do it. After playing the game, what really happens is you go to the Ripper Dock, you open up a menu, you select the item you want, and it goes in your inventory like any other video game. So it just completely
Mm,
tears away what they were advertising versus what they actually shipped.
yeah.
Now, I'm not saying that that was ever their intention, but because that's the first impression that we got of that game, that's kind of the expectation that it set up.
Yeah, it's
And
the
that's the
impression that
same
you have.
thing. And that's the same thing that goes for a lot of stuff in the way that they showed Cyberpunk. Where Ghost of Tsushima, I feel like everything that they showed was in the game, and some of it was like, wait, so how is this going to work within the context of the game? This looks very Assassin's Creed. Like, how automatic is it? And it ended up being, um, very fluid and very easy to play, and yet still have all of these different buttons that you have to keep track of. And I think that was something much more well advertised in that respect. Like, if you watch those videos, you may not exactly have known how the gameplay feels, but you knew what you were getting into. There was no expectation set higher than what we ended up getting.
Interesting. So, um, how did you play this game? Because I know there's different options or different gameplay styles. Because I know there's like one that's like samurai, one that's ghost. What path did you go down?
Yeah, so that's what I going back to what I wish the game had is the game talks about being a ghost or being a samurai, but
Yeah.
in reality, it kind of forces you down the ghost path no matter what you do. And so that's why I say I
Mm,
wish there was a little bit more player choice. Um, I don't want to spoil anything story wise,
yeah.
but there just are moments where you have to do ghost things, and even if you don't do ghost things when you do it, it still plays upon the idea that you did them in a ghost way, and that kind of mars the kind of role playing aspect of it, but it's not necessarily a role playing game. But I wish because they're doing historical fiction, I wish they would have given us a little bit more freedom in that respect. And I think that's what puts it kind of at my number 3 game instead of higher.
Got it.
But yeah,
Eh, No, it was good. Um, was there anything you wanted to add on to that, or are you gonna talk about ghosts later?
I haven't played Ghost,
Okay.
sadly.
Uh, uh, so have you played the multiplayer aspect to Ghost of
yeah,
Tsushima?
yeah. I played the Legends mode with none other than Matt Ferguson.
Oh.
We played through the main kind of story campaign, with one character each, and we've been meaning to go back to it, but we haven't had the chance to. But it's fun. It's a neat little mode that kind of retells the story of the main story arc, but in like a different way, where there was no way that there could have just been one ghost. So obviously there were 4 ghosts, and each
Hmm.
ghost had its own ability. There's a samurai ghost, a Ronin ghost, a archer ghost, and a ghost, an assassin ghost. There we go. And yeah, so there's all these different kind of play styles within the game, and there's weapons that you pick up that are basically from the game that give you different attributes from the game, but it kind of puts this nice, interesting RPG twist on it and makes the story more fantastical. Like the Mongols are portrayed as like possessed demons or possessed by demons, and it's these otherworldly gods that are trying to take over Tsushima, and it's just really interesting
So it's
the
like an
way that they
entirely new
reform
narrative
it.
for this world.
Yeah, and it's because it's being told through the eyes of a storyteller. And it's just kind of cool. It's a neat little addition.
That's interesting because
Yeah.
I think I was talking to Kamal about this. I could be very off, and he said it was like a brand new game, but they gave it to you for free. And
It is, yeah. In a lot of ways, it's I don't know if I'd say quite a brand new game, but yeah,
he didn't
it's
say
got
that,
a
but it
lot
was
of
like
new
that was
elements.
the idea behind what he said. It was like a
Yeah,
brand new experience, but it was free instead of it
definitely
being
a
like
brand
paid
new
DLC.
experience. Yeah. And it was a couple hours of fun. I haven't had a chance to do the raid yet because we need to level up more, and
Hmm.
we just he's been moving and stuff, and
Yeah.
we haven't had time. So
Okay. That was interesting though. Like I Ghost of Tsushima is that game that I've heard of a lot, and I always love hearing why people like it because
yeah, I mean, if you pay attention to the TGAs, it actually got fan choice of the year. So
yeah I saw that. So it's almost like the customer is always right. But anyways, um, that being aside, I haven't played it, so I can't make that judgment. Uh, but you have played Ghost of Tsushima, and we've heard that, and now I want to hear, hey, Mr. Al Tribesman, what is your third game of the year?
Okay, so I just have to preface all of this with there are not going to be single player like
That's
experiences
fine. No,
here
that's totally fine.
because whenever I would boot up my PlayStation, I just wanted to play games with you guys or just friends, or just didn't want to be alone. And then I'll get into why that was even worse to play Last of Us 2 for me. Then maybe, yeah. I played a lot of Hunt Showdown, which is my number 3, thanks to Phill letting me know about a survival horror game, an asymmetrical online survival horror game, which just felt like the poor man's Resident Evil 4, but
Phil,
with
just so we can
online
get this out of the
multiplayer.
way, is this your number 2?
no, it is not.
Okay, because I was gonna be like, that'd be really funny if it was. Uh, but yeah, I played a few rounds with you
But
guys too.
you did, yeah. It was a lot of fun. I got a couple of friends into it as well. Like it was I enjoyed every part of it. It was very different. I've never played a game like that, and it's by
Yeah, so so
Crytek,
for
I
people that
think.
don't know, what is this game like? Because you said it was like a poor man's Resident Evil 4, but like, could you get more into depth of like what that means? Like,
It's a survival horror. Like I said, um,
it's like
what's the genre exactly?
It's
Phil?
an asymmetrical multiplayer
Asymmetrical.
game,
Yeah.
and
and
So
it's not to say that it's similar to other asymmetrical multiplayer games. So the standard idea of what an asymmetrical multiplayer game is something like Dead by Daylight, Friday the 13th,
Friday the 13th,
Predator,
yeah.
stuff like that, and that's what people generally think of as an asymmetrical multiplayer. But this one is teams of 1 to 3 that are trying to fight over getting these bounties for monsters and boss monsters within the scope of a level or area. And so it's like you can have 5 other teams made up of 1 to 3 people that are all trying to get these monsters and stuff. And that's where it becomes asymmetric. Like a symmetrical multiplayer is like 2 teams of 20 versus each other. Something like that. So it's just kind of a neat
yeah,
concept and something that's different. And I feel like it doesn't get enough love. Um, just because it is kind of hard and obtuse to get into. I feel like if they streamlined some of the menu elements and some of the ways that the game is played, or maybe do like a hardcore versus non-hardcore mode, because one of the craziest things about this game is that when your character dies, they are dead.
Yeah, that
You
I remember
lose.
that. That was
Yes,
intense.
that's
Like it was a lot of pressure to
insane.
keep.
Yeah.
It was a lot of pressure to not die. Um,
Yeah.
what I also thought was
I
really.
wasn't even aware what a permadeath is. Phil had to explain it to me. Like I've never experienced
Oh,
that.
I'm sorry.
And yeah,
What was also weird to me was like, you shared a server, and so like sometimes you'll just be running in the world, and you run into other people that are playing the game at the exact same time, and
Exactly.
that was so weird to me because I never played a game like that. Like I've never played a game like GTA 5 Online, where I may be playing with my friends, but there's another group of friends playing too, and they don't want to die, and
Mhm.
they put more hours in the game than I did, and so they're better than me. So I just lost a character. It was like,
Right. That adds a lot to the horror aspect of it. I think I love that. At first, I was shocked. Like I couldn't understand how a game would like kill your character permanently, and I was like, okay, well that adds a lot more to it, in the sense that this is like a truly like scary game.
Yeah, and I think that adds to the the experience for sure, but at the same time it's harder for newcomers to kind of get into that idea. So
yeah,
I wish I don't think I could play the game without that now, just because it does add that extra level of kind of paying attention and taking it slow and not just rushing into everything.
if you're playing the game by yourself, or like if you don't know what it is, or like if you're in a group that has no idea what it is, it's very easy to understand like why you'd be deterred by it, because there's a lot
Right,
going into that
exactly.
game that you might find overwhelming.
Yeah. So I wish that there was like a mode that wasn't permadeath. That way people could either learn or just kind of play more casually on that end. That way the game could at least see more traction. Um, but yeah, it's definitely a fantastic experience. We actually played it on console.
Yeah,
Um,
which it looked fine for
I,
me. It looked perfectly fine for me on my base PS4. Uh, I don't think there's much like. I mean, it was hard to get
There's
into.
jank.
It's janky. It's a janky game for sure, but it was like it's hard to get into. But like once you're in it, it's like this is fun. It's fun for what it
Agreed.
And
is.
for people like me and Phil, like we'll eat that up because this is something that we've never had before as horror game fans, and you're giving
That's
this
true.
to us
Yeah.
like after the death of Friday the 13th, and Fran Mirabella talks about the smell of a game. This smells like my horror games that I play by myself, but I get to
Man, this game
play
smells like it
that
stinks.
with
Like
my
that.
friends.
I can smell the sulfur in the mud.
I feel like this game
But
smells a lot like
I would think
RE7.
you would agree with that, Phil, right? Like it puts you in that atmosphere that we gravitate towards when it comes to like our Resident Evils or Silent Hills.
yeah.
No,
This game is
Yeah,
and to see that
immersive.
in an online multiplayer game was awesome for me.
Yeah. And then, everything about that game, other than the menus,
Yeah,
Yeah,
the menus were
are rough.
rough.
just screamed atmosphere. I mean, even that beginning when you open it up and it's like they're like,
I will say for like as jank as playing the game was, I was immersed in that world whenever I played it. Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it was. Like it's not even that beautiful of a world. It's just like I just got into it, and like it was weird how well they pulled it off with so little, so to speak.
yeah.
Like
And there was just so many little things where it was like you play and you learn, like, oh, there are ravens over there, and those ravens will alert the entire map
server,
that
yeah.
you are right there, or ducks on the water. And then you think that the water is clear, and then all of a sudden what we call the water demon, because I
So
don't remember
so
any of the names
I
of
don't
all these creatures.
I don't know if you guys mentioned it,
Bee
but like
Lady, Water Demon.
I don't know if you guys mentioned it, but since we're talking about characters, you play and like you told me this the first time I played. You play as like a cowboy wizard, Doctor Strange type of thing.
Kind of.
And I think that's like the best way to describe it is because it's like you're a cowboy that's like magic, and it's crazy that you're in this world with a bunch of like Resident Evil villains, so to speak.
Yeah, Resident Evil style, like bio
Yeah.
weapons, but they're like demon weapons from another realm. But yeah, they totally give off that. Resident Evil vibe for sure, especially 8. Like, I
Yeah.
don't know what it is, but
No,
Resident
for me it
Evil
was more
8 in
7
this
because
game.
I feel like this game took a lot of like. It feels like it takes place in a bayou to me, so I feel like
Oh, sure.
it
Yeah,
resonates
I
with
just
7 more.
mean
But I know what you're
the
saying though.
atmosphere is definitely Resident Evil 7, but like I just mean in the sense of like I feel like 8, obviously we haven't played it yet, but 8 has that kind of more. There seems like there's going to be more diversity to the enemies
Yeah, yeah.
in 8. And we're really going to see some true bioweapons in this one, versus 7, which only had the
The family.
mold monsters and the family.
Welcome to the family, boy.
I also
That
got a
was
lot of
fun.
Resident Evil 4 in it, like the villages, and I don't know, but
Yes.
No,
it's
Village is
European
8.
and everything, like, but I don't know.
Welcome to the family, son.
Yep.
We ain't ever gonna let you go
Well-
now, boy.
What's funny about that is I was watching American Horror Story Coven, and it all takes place in like Louisiana, and it's fantastic. And all I could think of throughout the whole season was, oh, this makes me miss Hunt Showdown. Like,
We gotta get
'cause
into it.
everything, the music. Oh, it's so.
I'm down to
beautiful.
jump in, even though the servers were kind of slow.
Yeah, I'd definitely be down to jump in there again. Yeah, for sure.
God, it took a while to load into some games. But no,
I
yeah.
got that PS5 action now. I wonder what it
Oh
looks
my
like on
God.
there.
Does it even work on your PS5 though?
Hey,
is the
that's a good question.
I'm not 100% sure, but I mean, apparently there's only like a list of 10 games that don't work.
Is it one of
so
the
and it wasn't one of them.
0.5% games that is not on the PS5? Like, it's not true backwards
Um,
compatibility. It's like, whatever.
So yeah. I will say I started up Predator Hunting Grounds, and it looks great on the PlayStation 5.
Really? That's good to hear.
I tried.
Yeah, you know how the models look on the menus, and you're like, why doesn't the in-game look like that?
Oh, they look like the ones in the menus.
Yeah, they look like the menu
That's
models.
cool.
They look pretty good. Like I feel like that game uses a dynamic resolution scaling quite heavily to try and monitor frame rates and stuff, and it is definitely noticeable because playing from on a base PlayStation 4, that game is blurry as heck. It seems like the resolution is horrible.
Yeah.
And the farther you go out your view distance, the less you're able to see. On the PlayStation 5, it looks clear all the way across the map. So I have a feeling that they use kind of a dynamic resolution scaling to try and mitigate frame rates in that game, and it just does not work well on the PlayStation 4. But PlayStation 5, because it uses that dynamic resolution scaling, you're just kind of getting those true resolutions, and yeah, it looks good.
Yeah, I wonder what Hunt
I
Showdown would
remember
look like
seeing
with that
footage of it
technology.
running on PC, and it was just like, I can't believe this game looks that good, but we don't get any of that.
Predator
We don't get to
or
see it.
Hunt?
Right.
Yes, it looks awesome on PC. I've
And
seen it. I don't know.
I don't know how it compares to PC, just because I've only seen streams of PC gameplay. But I would
Not the
say
same,
that
yeah.
it's probably much closer to the PC version.
Well, that was yeah. Hopefully we can get jump back into it too. And I wonder what it does look like on PS5. The Hunt Showdown. I guess Phil will find out soon.
One of the one of the most interesting things about Hunt, and it was hard to get used to, was the idea of reloading your weapon.
Oh my God! Really quick,
'Cause-
can I just say that tutorial was horrible? I've never played a game with a worse tutorial in my life. Like for Hunt Showdown,
I have, but it was still really bad.
it was yeah. I believe it, but like that tutorial's bad. Like I like the game. I like the game just fine.
Have you played Dead by Daylight?
You're right. I agree. You're right.
Another thing to give Beth shit about.
Oh,
It's because I give her shit about The Last of Us Part 2. But yeah, the gun stuff was really weird for Hunt Showdown. What were you saying, Phil?
oh, just that there are like single shot weapons, and this game doesn't give you that ability. It's so you know how a lot of people said that Red Dead Redemption felt slow and methodical, like they were trying to add weight to everything and make it feel more realistic, and people didn't like that.
Mhm.
Yeah, Hunt is like 10 times that.
But it does it better though. You're not sitting there worrying about like your horse's poop.
Oh, well, sure, but you really don't have to worry about that in Red Dead either. That's stuff that just happens.
No, you got to take out
But
the little
no,
horse
so like
like
if
poo
you have a
bags and
single
like pick it
shot
up.
rifle. Oh, sorry, what?
No, I was just making a stupid dog poop joke.
Okay, let's 3, 2, 1 get back into
Let's try to get
this.
back into this. So Hunt Showdown is a really interesting pick. One that I totally forgot about, if I'm being honest. I totally forgot I played the game this year. But that was a good game, and now I want to hear Phil's second game of 2020.
So real quick, before I get into that, I just want to say the one thing that we didn't get into because I had to stop.
Okay, sure.
Is the reloading in this game. So if you have like a single shot rifle and you fire that bullet, most games are just gonna automatically reload that bullet for you.
Yes.
Nah, not in Hunt Showdown. You gotta press that reload button and you gotta wait for every single bullet to be put back into that gun if it has multiple shots. And it's hilarious.
Is it not justified though? Does it not add to
No.
the game?
That's
Phil,
kidding.
you of all people would know this.
Oh no, I love it. It's the best.
But
I'm just talking about the slow, methodical nature of the game, and that's I think what
Right, you were saying the
is one of the
realism
most
part of it.
exemplary parts of it is that the whole thing, and they don't, like a lot of games will even speed up reload to where it looks like they're doing it impossibly fast. They're like, what up, reloaded.
but this is realistic. Like it's like
but no, in this game it's like.
You're not wrong.
It's great. I love it. It's great. Anyway,
He takes out a chair. He
second
just sits
game.
down. He's like, "Hold up, I need to get ready for this one." He's just like taking forever to reload it.
Second game is Resident Evil 3 remake, and I just saw some eyebrow twitches.
Oh,
from
no, it's
Cesar.
because I was like, you didn't say remake, so I was like, did they remake that game?
no.
I totally forgot that game came out.
Yep. And it was easily one of my favorite games this year. I know it had a lot of controversy because of its length, because of the content
yeah.
that was cut out, because of the way they kind of advertised Nemesis working versus the way he actually worked.
Is this the
in
one with
game.
Mr. X?
What's that?
Is this the one with DMX?
That's 2.
Oh,
With what?
DMX.
Mr. X.
Oh, DMX. X gonna give it to you.
What?
X gonna give it to you. What? But
How
No,
is it more ridiculous than what I thought you said? I thought you said Mr. X, and I was like,
I
no,
initially said
that's-
Mr.
that's
X, but then I
Resident
was
Evil
like,
2.
oh wait, I could say DMX.
but he did mean Mr. X, so it all worked.
No, I initially said
Okay.
Mr. X. I initially said Mr. X,
Someone-
but I was like, no, I'll say
someone-
DMX.
Made a mod.
Yeah, I was about to bring that up.
Actually, does whenever Mr. X comes onto the screen, it does the X go give it to you.
No, it goes further than that. It's like when he's in the vicinity of like
Wow.
he's like behind
Yeah.
the door, you could hear him coming.
So
That's
great.
awesome.
But like
So good.
this is the third game, then not the second one. So this is a
Yeah,
different character.
I'm talking about Resident Evil 3 remake. But yeah, I absolutely loved this game. I played through it pretty much until I platinumed it, like
Mhm.
over and over and over until I platinumed it. I thought that
No.
the way that they
rest
built this
till
game is
platinum.
much more geared towards runs
Mhm.
rather than geared towards like exploration and stuff. And in some ways I feel like that's how the third game is, but there are pivotal things that I'm really sad they took out. Like if you end up fighting Nemesis, there used to be like a choice whether it was run or fight.
Mhm.
And if you decided to fight and you won, you got like a special item. And that still kind of exists in this one, where if Nemesis shows up and you fight him, he'll drop like a briefcase, and that briefcase will have a special item in it. But it's not the same as it is in the original. And there's some other small things that they cut out and things that they did to Nemesis, the way they changed the way Nemesis works.
So I know like a few
specifically
things.
later
I don't know
for-
much
what's
about this. I know like a few things. I don't know much about this game. I know they announced something, which was like if you're in a safe room, Nemesis can break in. Was that always in the game, or is that like a new thing that they just added to the remake?
That's something that they added specifically to this game, but
Mm-hmm.
honestly, I don't really remember a point to when it happened. I think there might be one place where there's like a
Mm-hmm.
diner and you go into the diner and it's technically a safe room, but he can still come into that building.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it was, Phil.
I
It
only
wasn't an actual safe room.
I only bring it
Yeah,
up. I only bring it up because I was like, you were bringing up like changes they made to the game, and I was like, that was a really significant one that they made a point to like
yeah,
point
but
that one out.
the weird thing is like Nemesis had these specific areas that
Yeah.
he could traverse. Like there were buildings that you could go into that he couldn't follow you into. So a great example is very early in the game. There's like a train station or like a train hub where you uh, go into and you control the train routes.
Yeah.
And if he's following you and you go into that building, he doesn't follow you into that building. And the reason he doesn't follow you into that building is because it's a dead end. Like you are trapped in that building. So I get why he can't go in there because otherwise it'd be very hard to get out of that building and escape. But at the same time, it totally breaks kind of the immersion and makes him feel way more robotic than he probably should, especially when there's other sequences where he's like busting through the wall and he's like, "Hey, what up, kid? I'm gonna get you." And then all of a sudden,
Hey, how's it going?
Again, just more DMX than Miss.
You
the
want me to give it to
Nemesis.
you? Hey.
uh, and yeah, definitely almost
They call me
yeah,
Nimby.
almost weirder because uh at least X, followed you almost everywhere, when he was active. It was just there would be spots where he was not active. Um but yeah, despite Nemesis, I had a lot of fun playing that game
So
and I
were
played it
were there any
over and
changes
over
that
and
they
over.
made that you were like a fan of? That were there like changes that they made that you were welcome to?
Yeah, absolutely. They created a system to where you like when you play through the game, you got a certain amount of points, and then you could spend those points on extra items. I liked that quite a bit. In Resident Evil 2, you had to kind of complete the game a certain way or um, do certain things to unlock certain things, and that is great for replayability in the sense of like replaying the game over and over, but this gave you a reason to kind of rerun the game, which I thought was very arcadey and very fun. Um, is it better
Mm-hmm.
than Resident Evil 2 Remake? I don't know. Definitely not.
But
But
when it comes to like this year, you really had fun playing it.
I had a lot of fun playing it. A lot of fun. And that's, I think, where my list breaks down is I'm not looking at the game that is, technically most impressive or, you know, graphically most impressive or whatever else. I'm just looking at what I had the most fun with.
Mm-hmm.
And um I think if I were to do, we'll get into honorable mentions and stuff later, but
Yeah.
uh this is definitely a game that I had a lot of fun in. I mean, I dropped close to 60 hours, I think, playing this game over and over and just enjoying every single run. My favorite run was after I unlocked the rocket launcher and just ran through the game as fast as I could, blowing everything up with a rocket launcher.
Can you kill yourself with the rocket launcher?
Can you hurt yourself? I don't think so.
Hmm.
The
Try it right now.
Resident
I'm just kidding.
Evil remake games are very interesting in the way that when you throw like an explosive, I think Resident Evil 4 is like this too. Al, you might be able to help me with this.
Sure.
When you throw a grenade in Resident Evil 4, doesn't Leon just kind of put his arms up to the explosion, even if it's like right
Yeah,
next,
yeah, yeah.
unless it's the enemy throwing the explosive, that hurts you.
I think. Mm,
That's exactly how I remember it. Yeah.
what happened to my voice
Yeah, and
there?
I'm
I
pretty
think.
sure it's the same in this game as well, in the sense that when you throw an explosive or when you blow up a barrel, you end up kind of like putting your arms up and the explosion happens.
I
And
think RE7 has some aspects of that too, where like if you trigger something, he puts his hands up and you can see like him do it because it's first person.
Right.
But that's interesting.
But then at the same time, I'm a huge Resident Evil fan, and as I was actually talking to you recently, I just started playing Resident Evil 7 again because I forgot how great that game is, and it's been a lot of
It's a
fun
great game.
playing that game again. But
Would you say?
I don't know if it's been a while since. Go ahead, Cesar. Sorry.
No. I was going nowhere with that. Well, I did like have an idea. I'm just like, would you say that? Because you'd said you might prefer RE2 over RE3. If they're both on the shelf, if they're both released at the same time, and you could only get one, you would still go RE2, or would you?
Yeah,
take this one?
absolutely. Resident Evil 2 has more overall replayability because you have the ability to play as Claire, you have the ability to play as Leon, and then on top of that, you have the ability to play, the Tofu and Hunk missions, and there's a bunch of stuff to unlock in the Tofu missions.
Hank.
Hank.
Did you play this game, Al? RE3 remake.
RE3 is my number 2.
Oh, we might as well just get into that then. Yeah, if it
Yay!
just add on to this conversation then. What do you like about it? Like what? Tell me about it. Tell me about your experience with it.
Just everything Phil said, and I wanted to add that even the originals I prefer 2 more than 3, but again, there's so much going on in the remakes versus like I don't know. I think the new engine suits a 3 type game better,
Yeah.
but it wasn't executed as well. If that makes any sense. Phil.
Yeah, the RE engine is
like
beautiful.
I want more Resident Evil 3 like games in this engine than I want 2. Not to say that I don't want games like that because I want all of them, but yeah, like it's better suited for that.
The pacing, the changes that they made to combat, like all that stuff felt so good in Resident Evil 3. It's just they dropped the ball in other parts of the execution.
So
it suited the new engine better, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, absolutely. And a big thing for me was like the lack of costumes in the game. When you had, I think, 4 or 5 per character in Resident Evil 2, this game only had one. I think it was one other costume. It was classic Jill. It was classic Jill and the new Jill. And then like classic Carlos and new Carlos were the 2 costumes. And I think you could only get the costumes from like pre-ordering, which I thought was if I'm remembering that correctly, that's not great. And I think a lot of people with the game, what they don't remember or what they don't think about or what they don't care about is the fact that even though this game isn't as much content as Resident Evil 2, it also included a whole separate game inside of it, the multiplayer aspect, which the name is escaping me right now.
RE3 multiplayer.
Resistance.
Yeah. Resistance.
Not what Cesar said.
So Al, because Phil had mentioned some things he wasn't a fan of, like the changes they made. Is there anything that you want to bring up?
Pretty much the same thing. The stuff they removed, the length of the game, and I don't know. I mean, Phil knows this about me. I'm all for a short game, but that game's too short.
Got it.
And
for paying $60 for it, you would say like it would like what a $20 game, $40, something like that.
Exactly. It looks. There's a lot of potential, is what sucks.
Yeah.
I would have much rather this game dropped at 40, the way it is, or 30, and not included the multiplayer.
So
as much as I just kind of defended what it was because of the multiplayer as a package.
Yeah, that brings up an interesting question. Do you feel like the multiplayer was enough to justify that extra cost of lost content? Because it's not only like adding a mode, it's supplementing content that they took out.
Yes and no. For me personally, no, because I didn't touch it at all. But I do know people that love it. So in a way, yes. I just wish they wouldn't have. I wish they would have just released Resident Evil 3 as its own product and given it the love and care that it truly deserved.
They changed the whole because the thing was not as great as it could be. And if you change it and add that to it, like Tim Geddes talks a lot about this, you want it to stand as what it is, not
Hmm.
this plus that multiplayer game, which was a completely different game anyways in the first
Yeah.
place. If I remember correctly, I think it was not supposed to be released. They were not supposed to be released together. Like it was a different game they were working on.
So,
Uh,
Phil, would you say, because you played, it's almost like the same as, almost, not entirely, almost the same as like the Ghost of Tsushima situation, where you were given a single player experience and then they added on the multiplayer experience. Would you say that they are comparable in like content in the sense of like, uh,
this is this is a complete opposite situation
okay,
to where Legends didn't take away from the Ghost of Tsushima experience at all. It only added to it, and it was free then and came later. Where this was packaged in with the game and is a literal completely different experience. Like it's an asymmetrical multiplayer game inside of this package, and it doesn't feel like it belongs where Ghost of Tsushima feels like it belongs, or Legends I should say, feels like it belongs, and this just feels like something completely different, like it shouldn't even be there.
This is almost like when, like the old arguments everyone would have about DLC, and if the DLC was part of the game that was just removed from the game and then added for a price, as opposed to the DLC being just like an additional content that doesn't take away from the game. This is the worst of those
So
two worlds.
so
It's like,
you're
no,
saying you would have
this is
preferred
not,
it if they
it
just
doesn't belong in
had.
the game, but we're giving it to you so that you justify paying $60 for it.
So you're saying you
Yep.
would have preferred it if they just had the original content instead of this
100%.
supplement. Got it.
Yeah, I think Resident Evil 3 easily could have been my game of the year
Wow.
if it had been fleshed out. If we got that little bit of extra love and care put into this game, if some of the design choices were just a little bit more thought out, and if they just put a little bit more money into it instead of kind of splitting it off and letting it be its own thing. Because, like, for example, there are like 4 different Jill models
Uh-huh.
in the game. There's zombie Jill, like t-shirt Jill,
Yeah.
um, classic Jill and new Jill. And I feel like there's one more that you could have put in there, but I don't remember what it is. Oh, and I forgot there's classic RE1 Jill, I think, in there as well as a costume.
Mm-hmm.
So I did forget about that. But yeah, I mean, there's 3 costumes that they easily could have done, and because the models were already there, it's not like they would have been new models they had to make, and you could have made those extra costumes easily,
Yeah.
as like unlockables or buyables in the shop. And I don't know why. Like just that alone shows me that they just didn't put as much thought behind it as they did. I mean, when
So
you go back and you look at Resident Evil 2 and how, like, as you play through the game, their character's costume changes, like, via what's happening within the game. Um, like, for example, like when Jill takes off her jacket and gives it to the little girl, like, she doesn't have that jacket on anymore. There's just, I don't know, there's so many little details in Resident Evil 2, or did I say Jill? I meant Claire. I feel like I said Jill because we were talking about Resident Evil 3, but I meant Claire.
you said Joe, but
Uh,
to me,
yeah, I'm just making the clarification. Okay.
I will leave the server right now.
Sorry.
Just kidding. It's my server.
So
and I'll
anyway,
leave.
there's so many little details that they put into Resident Evil 2 that I feel like were just not there. That
Mhm.
attention to detail, and I know it's a different development team that worked on 3 than the one that worked on 2, but I wish they would have put a little bit more love and care into it. Like have the Resident Evil 2 team play it, see what they could have garnered, because as much as I agree with what Al is saying as far as the gameplay is concerned, um, Resident Evil 2 killed it with all
Yeah.
of the attention to detail and the love and just the different ways you could play that game. Because even the remixed mode for Resident Evil 3 just kind of replaces where items are, but doesn't really change much else, which is kind of sad.
So I guess that kind of begs the question: do you think RE3 kind of rode the coattails of RE2 and was almost like a cash grab? That the Capcom was like, they saw RE2 and they're like, we can make money off of this. What if we did the next one?
No, I feel like Resident Evil 3 was developed in a vacuum.
Okay.
Where because there's no way they really fed off of anything from Resident Evil 2 because it came out way too fast. I mean, it was only a year between those two releases. And the fact that we even got another Resident Evil just blew my mind. The fact that we're getting a new Resident Evil next year blows my mind.
Yeah.
And I feel like if Resident Evil 3 had come out before 2, I think 3 would have been received much, much better. And then 2 would have been like, oh my God, this is
an
a better
improvement.
version of 3, essentially. Rather than the other way around where 3 was kind of shat on because we already had 2.
Okay.
I think 3 could have been even more of a cash grab than it ended up being. Like, can you imagine what, like, when I say Phill, like, don't get me wrong, I love 2 more, and I love the original 2 more than the original 3, but I'm just saying we were introduced to what you can do with this engine and this type of let's say gameplay mechanic that we didn't see before. As for, like, I know I have friends who would not touch a Resident Evil game because they would want something that's more action oriented, and they could have made that game for those people to convert them into that, but I don't think there's enough in there to get more people into this franchise than there could have been, if that makes any sense.
Isn't there like already an action game in like the RE engine? Devil May Cry?
The old engine. And
no, that's not true. Devil May Cry 5 is in the RE engine.
Yeah, but
it's a very
the same people who wouldn't enjoy the horror of Resident Evil would not enjoy anything about Devil May Cry. Like, if you want, let's say,
however,
real
quick, I just want to say, the RE engine does make Devil May Cry 5 look real good, though. It makes it look real good.
Yes.
All right,
but yeah, I see exactly what you're saying.
No, but what I'm trying to say is, this could have been what Resident Evil 5 did for those players, for this generation and for this 100%. Engine. Resident Evil 5 brought in a lot of people who did not want any of that, like, slow-paced Resident Evil 4 stuff. It was more of, not that that's what I want.
That's interesting.
But that could have turned into that. Like, the Resident Evil 3 remake could have been the 5 of its generation and of this engine.
But I never knew that about RE5 because I only knew like people loved RE4. I never knew that there was such a love for RE5 as well.
Yeah, there's a whole fan base for that style of action game, and interestingly enough, it's such a weird enigma in the Resident Evil franchise because they tried to go back to the well with 6, but somehow didn't capture any of the essence of either the originals or 5.
Because, Cesar, if you didn't know this, they gave us 3 different games in one. So they were trying to please the people who love the classic RE stuff, the people who love the action-y stuff, and then like a mixture of both. So
I know.
It didn't make sense.
I know about RE6. And I know how it's like the most beloved game in the entire franchise.
But yeah, so Resident Evil 6 is really interesting because you have none of the attributes that make either version of Resident Evil great. There's no like unlockables really, for like beating a campaign. Like, if you got, some cool new weapons for, Leon's campaign, or, if you could purchase, I don't know, permanent upgrades like you could in Resident Evil 5, where you could use the gems to like farm out gems in certain replays. Because yeah, Resident Evil 5 was like the weird, almost Devil May Cry meets Resident Evil hybrid, where it played like an action-oriented Resident Evil, but had those like elements of Devil May Cry where you could replay a certain part of a mission and like farm gems and buy stuff. It was a really cool thing. Also, Shiva. It's been a while. Shiva,
Chevy.
got the shaft. I posted this on Twitter yesterday that she's like one of the only mainline Resident Evil characters never to be reintroduced into another game.
Huh.
Like she's not in the
That's
Wow.
unfortunate.
she's
That's
not in the
unfortunate.
Revelation games. She's not in Resident Evil 6. She's not in 7. She's most likely not going to be in 8. She just like ghosted. She disappeared. Even Barry has
How much you want to
been
bet there's
you
gonna be like a
know,
little cameo in
in
8? Just
multiple
be like
games.
surprise.
What do you mean
I-
even Barry? He's an OG.
No, I'm just saying, like he's been in a ton of games in.
I know, but as
in
a
his
side
lifetime.
character, I get it.
I mean Ada, even Sherry, like, like, and like like I feel like even Ashley has been in multiple games now.
WarioWare?
Huh?
WarioWare, Ashley? Who's the little girl
It's just
who lives
so
in the
weird
haunted
to me
mansion?
that they just abandoned Shifa. Like she's such a great character, and she's one of the only like racially diverse characters in the entire lineup. Okay, new weird tangent. So
I'm about it. Don't worry about it. Yeah.
Carlos in 3 doesn't die in the new one, but if I remember correctly, he died in the original 3, right?
I don't remember much of the original 3. I had questions for you about that, but yeah.
It's been a while since I played
It's
it,
been a while.
but I feel like Carlos dies in the
I
original
think so, yeah.
3. But anyway, there's not, if we're just throwing it out there, there's not very many like racially diverse characters in the Resident Evil franchise.
And what, do they all die or
And
something? Like, is that just a
they
trend?
don't necessarily die, but they never come back either. Like I don't know.
Did Carlos come back?
Well, he died apparently.
I feel like he died in the original 3 and then never came. Like obviously he's dead. He can't come back.
Wasn't he in like 0 or something? Or am I no?
No, I
I
don't
love how
think
confusing
so.
this franchise is.
I feel like he's at least appeared in another game though. Hang on.
I love how convoluted this franchise is.
Oh my god, you want to talk about convoluted? It is definitely
Um,
one of the most.
It's part of the
But
charm of it, I would say.
I hope the RE6 character you're talking about, I hope she appears in RE8 because I think that'd be really funny.
Oh, that'd be awesome. That'd be
What
awesome.
if she was like the little character that's like the Little Nightmares animated ass character? What if that's her?
Right.
It's probably not, but what if?
So he appears in Resident Evil 3, Resident Evil 3 Remake, Umbrella Chronicles, and something called Under the Skin, which I think is like a Japanese like theater ride. I feel like that's right. Knowing alien panic makers.
That doesn't count.
Oh no, it's like a weird.
Mm.
I don't know what in the world that is. Okay, I don't know. It's some weird game developed by Capcom for the PlayStation 2, but yeah, it's like a.
You
very
mean any game?
strange
You
thing.
mean any game developed by Capcom? Got
But anyway, yeah, it's just interesting how that seems to be the case. Like Ethan was, random white guy number 19. Now he's been featured in 2 games, and
Anyways, is there anything else you want to add on to RE3 Talk L?
I wanted to ask Phil if you remember any kind of disconnect between like in terms of the nemesis and how like he can go through certain areas but not others in the original. Did you feel that? Do you know? Because it's been years
yeah,
for me.
I mean, there's when you're running away from like so he comes in very specific instances, and generally speaking, you choose to run or you choose to fight. And if you run, it's usually just getting to the next area where he, isn't going to follow you, essentially. Until he pops up again, of course.
Right. I remember the choice. I just don't remember everything about that. That's all I have to say about RE3, I think.
Yeah, anytime you chose run, you just basically had to get to the area where he couldn't follow you anymore, and that was it.
So overall, you two would say that RA3 is a very fun game, but
Yep.
they had made some choices that you don't agree with, including cutting a lot of content and adding a multiplayer mode that was objectively unnecessary.
Yeah,
Is that what you guys
but
say?
it allows me to put a giant phallic laser weapon into the mouth of a giant bio weapon,
That's a
and
trade-off. That's a great trade-off if I've ever heard one.
uh,
Anyways, before we get into both of your games of the year, let's bring up really quickly some honorable mentions that you guys might have. And I want to start this time with Al.
How many can we bring up?
You can bring up as
I
many
have
as
a
you want.
few. Okay, so it goes without saying, Dreams has to be up there for me.
Oh wow!
100%. 100%.
I always
mean,
forget that game exists. Like not even as a joke because it just never comes up in conversation.
all the games I like are great in concept, poor in execution.
Oh no!
I think
I'm sorry.
we're even the single player campaign game Resident Evil 3 it falls under that category. But Dreams is great. I enjoyed Little Big Planet for what it was. This takes it to a different level. I loved playing the Seinfeld levels, the South Park levels. Like it was unbelievable.
I thought you were gonna say
just
like
how
I love the
awesome and how
Seinfeld
creative
game
people
that
were
came out
getting
this
with
year.
that game.
I thought you were gonna say something like I love the Seinfeld game that came out this year, and I was just like I was not ready for that. I just emotionally and physically was not ready for that.
Dude, it was a horror-based level, and it was Jerry Seinfeld's apartment. It was insane.
No, I thought you meant like it was an actual game. I didn't know you meant like it was a Dreams
No,
level.
I'm still talking about
I
Dreams
was
levels.
so confused. I
basically.
was just like,
But yeah, definitely an honorable mention. I can't bring up 2020 without bringing up Dreams. Um, Predator goes without saying as well, even though I preferred certain aspects of Friday the 13th in terms of like it's more of a horror game.
hello, little kid.
hey, who's that? Who's that right there?
You know, I still don't have my copy. Looking at you, Joey.
You should have told me to ask her that. Whatever.
But yeah, Predator is a great game. It's again, I was a huge fan of Friday the 13th and wanted more of that. It just happens to be not. I don't know. It was janky, and I'm okay with jank. Obviously, my entire list is full of jank.
I mean, so are we.
Yeah.
To be fair, I don't think there was a lot of jank in Resident Evil 3. That game was pretty mechanically solid. Just saying.
True.
But Predator.
And one thing that I will have to admit to playing this year that I want to say forced into playing. Whether or not that's true, we'll that'll leave it that for you guys to
Is
figure
it
out.
Trashed of Us 2?
No.
Oh, okay.
I'm not even gonna dignify it by bringing it up because that just brought more loneliness to 2020.
I just
Oh,
want to
no.
get Trashed of Us 2 on the show.
There's been enough. There's been enough Last of
There's
Us
been
talk this
enough.
weekend. I love bringing Last of Us 2 up, but I'm kind of tired of it at this point. But I'm not upset if it comes up in an actual, genuine conversation, not Trashed of Us 2.
Oh, yeah. I believe it or not started playing League of Legends.
Whoa!
Yeah. So
You're a nerd. No, I'm just kidding.
What's her name? What's her name, Al?
Who
my
is she?
name's the same
No,
name
what's her,
I have.
what's
on
her
everything.
name?
What's her name?
What's her name?
What's her name?
What's her name?
Who
How'd
is
she
she?
get you to play?
What's her
What'd
name?
she do to get you to play the game?
Oh,
Is she a streamer?
God,
Did you buy a
Phil.
tier 3 sub?
So, yeah, it's a good game. It
Oh,
does
the fact that he
games
said it
as
like
a
that, the fact
service
that he said it
very
like that.
differently from like things like Destiny or whatever. It's interesting. It's annoying as hell, but interesting.
So are you
I-
into it, or did you just like play it casually?
Very casually.
You'll have to
Like-
DM me later about what her name is.
Oh God, Phil, I love you so much.
It's
But
me.
yeah,
Okay, fine. I'll admit it.
it's
It
a
was
lot
me.
of fun. It's a lot of fun.
So I got into the MOBA scene like forever ago because I'm ancient. Um, and I played like Heroes of New Earth, Dota, League of Legends, and League of Legends really set the standard for that style of game and how monetization should work in that style of game. Where Heroes of New Earth was like, oh, buy like the new heroes, and that was kind of its monetization strategy. This game was like, you don't have to buy the heroes if you don't want to. Like, eventually you'll be able to unlock them if you just play the games enough. But uh, um, you know, it's interesting. They tried to do more monetization through costumes and stuff like that, which is
That's
just really
more like what I actually appreciate about the game. It's not so much the monetization, but it's things like adding so many playable characters that you don't have to grind one out for you to, like you have enough variety, and you can keep going back to the game and playing it, and you'll still, you know, have new things to learn and discover in the game. I think it does this kind of game better than others. Obviously, there's a reason why it is what it is, I guess.
So it's a relief.
Abs-
So it's a relief to like not have to grind one out anymore. Is that's what you're saying? All right.
100%.
and yeah,
Yeah.
it's amazing how replayable they can make such a small map and such a small gameplay idea. And it's not talked about as much anymore, but man, is that
League
game
still
still
has like a very
gigantic.
massive player base for
Yeah.
sure. Like it's one of those games that people keep playing. Like no matter what happens, people will always play League of Legends. It's crazy. That game I don't think will ever die. But with that, Phil, what are your honorable mentions for 2020?
So right out of the gate, I'm gonna just say Last of Us 2. That is an honorable mention for me. I think that it is hard to ignore how technically amazing that game is, and how they were able to craft a game that's so emotionally draining.
It's almost
uh,
impressive.
yeah, it's almost oppressive for sure. Um, that's definitely one of my very, very high up there honorable mentions. It's I'm an Abby apologist. I'm gonna throw that out there right now.
Boo! Get off the stage! Boo! Just kidding. I don't have an opinion.
Turn up that gain, Caesar. You
but
screamed that, and I didn't hear anything.
yeah, so I'm an Abby apologist, and I forgave her very, very early on into playing her. Obviously, I had some emotions in the beginning, but once I started playing her and going through her story, like I really started to understand and kind of see things from that character's perspective, and it was almost hard going back at the end um, for me, and I definitely
Yeah,
had some conflicts as far as
it's a very
how I
it's very
felt.
like polarizing game, and like it really takes you in a lot of directions, emotionally. Because like I was talking about this with Racy right now, it's not really much of a game that like you go to for gameplay. It's about the narrative and like the
Right.
story. It takes you along, for sure.
And I will say right now, Laura Bailey deserved every single bit of praise that she got and the award she got at the TGAs for that performance. Anyway, other honorable mentions, obviously Predator Hunting Grounds, and Hunt Showdown.
It's the hunt showdown.
Fall
Nothing's gonna
Guys,
ever get me
definitely
down.
an honorable mention for me.
I thought you hated
Games
Fall
I
Guys.
wish I could have played more were, yeah, but it they did a lot to that game to kind of fix the things that were going on, as well as um, the things that they did to bring people together in a time where it's really hard for people to socially interact and be together. And
Can I cut you off for a second there, Phil?
yeah,
That exactly what you just said, to bring people together and have fun, is the reason why Last of Us is not on this list. And this is coming from someone who is a huge Last of Us Part 1 fan. So to give me this game that I've waited for years, I'm not going to question their motives or why they did what they did story wise. It's just it's not for me, not what I wanted this game to be.
I
And
get
I
that.
haven't even finished it. And I haven't even finished it.
Why
And
does this
I
game
was
keep
going
coming
through
up?
some stuff this year that's not even 2020 related, and I did not want to sink into a world that was more depressing than mine.
I get that.
It wasn't even just the fact that it's depressing. It was almost meaningless. It was like, why am I doing this? Why? I don't want to do this. I don't want to like add to the thing that I
100%.
it's not my story to approve of or reject, but it's not where I want to.
It's not the story
It's
you
not what
wanted.
I want the sequel to be.
Yeah.
And
And I
it's
think-
not about fuck that sexism stuff, and it's not that. It really isn't, and it's not about certain things in the beginning. And
It's about the
it's not
choice. It's about the narrative, the way the narrative went, like the direction it
Yes.
went in.
And I think
So
that's
excuse me if I want to play online fun games, colorful games, just to keep my mind on things with my friends. So that's exactly why that game is not on my list. There, I said my piece. Sorry, go
I
ahead.
think I know what Al's number one is. But we'll get there when we get there.
I was just gonna say, I think that's why it didn't make my game of the year list. Like, although I can appreciate the technical achievement,
Yeah.
all the stuff that game was able to fit into that package. I just, it's not my top in my top.
But
three.
you'd be remiss because you acknowledge like there are some aspects about it that were groundbreaking. So
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
personally would be remiss if you just didn't bring it up at least once
Yep,
for the good
100%.
things it did do.
And I joke about it being trashed of us, but that's just because it's a great pun.
I would also be remiss if I didn't bring up why it's not on my
That-
list.
no, that's fair
'Cause I
too.
don't see myself as that person. Like I'm a Last of Us fan, and for me to not have it on my list is an issue for me that I have to resolve myself.
No,
Like,
that's fair too. That's fair too. You're totally have what's the word? It's valid to have those opinions and like to have those belief that the game that you were looking forward to the most this year let you down the hardest. So you're
Mhm.
fine. You're totally fine in believing what you believe in about that game.
Um,
Sorry to bring it down, but
No, you're
no,
you're
that's
100%
what Last
fine.
of Us 2 did to me.
This is your
Uh,
show. Like this is your show. You want to bring it up and talk about it. You can talk about it as much as you want.
Another honorable mention is Crosscode, which finally got released on the
Oh,
Switch
yeah.
this year. It's a great little action RPG, 2D kind of 16-bit style action RPG where you play as this character who's in kind of like this fake MMO world .hack style. It's a great game. It's a great game. I would like to throw out Spider-Man Miles Morales, if
Yo.
only because I haven't played it yet. But I'm absolutely hoping to play that this year.
Well, that could be
Um,
like the game you're looking forward to. Then
Yeah.
we can talk about that
Yeah.
later.
Okay. Awesome. I have a fun little story about that, and we'll see if it comes true here in 5 days. But we'll talk about that in the games that I'm excited for.
Yeah.
Oh, special shout out goes to Legends of Runeterra. Speaking of League of Legends, I'm a huge fan of Magic the Gathering and of Hearthstone, but I kind of fell off Hearthstone, and of course, Magic the Gathering Arena is not, or whatever the current mobile game or digital game is called, is not available on mobile yet. So I haven't really got into that. So Legends of Runeterra was kind of like a nice alternative for a card-based game, and I played that game solid at the beginning of this year, and then I got back into it during quarantine for a bit, but I eventually fell off of it just because I started doing so many other things. But yeah, Legends of Runeterra was definitely a honorable mention for me for this year. I think it probably would have been higher if I had kind of stuck with it, but I fell off because it's not a game with a lot of social interaction. So it feels very alone to kind of play that game.
Shh, Al,
Let's see.
you don't need to say it, Al.
Think that's it for
Not as
honorable
alone
mention.
as Last of Us 2.
Yeah, fucking
made me
yeah. There
feel.
we go. All right.
Yeah.
Anyways,
100%.
yeah, that's an interesting list of games and a few games I haven't heard of before that I'll definitely look out for. But gentlemen, those are not your games of the year. And so right now, I would like to ask. Yeah, let's go Al first. Al, the Predator Tribesman. What is your game of 2020, and why is it The Last of Us Part 2? The smile on his face just dropped immediately as soon as they said that. No, but seriously,
It is
no.
absolutely
Let me.
not The Last of Us Part 2.
Can I take a guess as to what it genuinely is?
I think you have it without even knowing what your guess is.
Is
Take a
it
guess?
Fall Guys Ultimate Knockout?
100%.
Yeah,
yes.
I fucking knew it. For people that don't know what that game is, can you give us a synopsis really quickly?
It's Takeshi's Castle as a video game. You go in. It's like a Japanese game show where like it's
Oh my God,
Wipeout.
it so is.
Because Cesar was shaking his head at Takeshi's Castle, I'm guessing he doesn't know what that is.
Yeah, no, I have no idea what that is. All I
It's
know,
the Wipeout. It's what Wipeout copied basically.
I would have just called. I just call this game like Game Show, the video game. That's
It is, and I love every bit of that. Like I'm a game show nerd. I've been enjoying playing with you guys and these short bursts. Like you get in, you get out. It's unbelievable how much fun you can get into and just jump. You jump in, you have a lot of fun, and then you jump out. And I think this is exactly the game that I didn't know I needed for 2020.
so.
Yeah.
Would you have you been keeping up with the seasons? Because I know it's been a while since we played, but I don't know if you've been playing as much. Have you been keeping up with like the new updates and stuff?
I played like a little bit during season 2, but I played every day during season 1, and that was
Yeah.
that chunk of my life. It was just Fall Guys, and it did everything I wanted it to do for me. And for me not to say that that's my game of the year, I would be lying.
Because it affected you so much, because it gave you a chance to interact with people in a way you didn't have because of the pandemic, so to speak, right?
Absolutely, and all of it's like all the cons I had with other games, like investing time or being alone, or like none of these were there. Like
It was
you
the
jump
exact
in, you play with
contrast.
friends.
It was like
Pardon?
the exact opposite.
Oh yeah, 100%. So if you were to ask me 6 months ago, even what my game of the year was going to be, it was like
Last of Us
this
Part 2.
crappy online game that looks like a mobile game or Last of Us 2, I would have said no. I think it's still going to be Last of Us 2, and sadly, that didn't turn around at all. I just have more love for Fall Guys.
Would you say you were did you know about the game before like the original showcase this year? Like in
Nope.
PlayStation? So would you say you're like pleasantly surprised at like what that game turned out to be and what it turned into?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. It's exactly what I needed. Like I said, I didn't even know that was a thing. Like I was very pleasantly surprised by everything about that game.
And like you said you played like every day during the initial release or the initial season. It's kind of impressive, isn't it? The fact that like when it launched, every like 10 minutes that game went down because of server issues. And now it's like running
True.
perfectly, no matter what server you're playing it on.
But that didn't stop us though.
Yeah.
Like it didn't stop.
Because we love that game so much because it was just like it doesn't matter like how many times the servers may go out. We know how much fun this game is, and like we waited. Like there was like a time where we waited hours for a server to come back on.
100%. I started following the server owl. I started putting how many crowns I have.
Did you turn the
everyone else,
notifications
like you
on?
guys.
Did you turn the notifications on?
Yes, I did
Yeah,
turn the
too, yeah.
notifications on. Absolutely. But I think that's what games are to me. That's what games started off being. Like before, I appreciated what games like Silent Hill and Resident Evil can do. This was my kind of game, and even throughout, like with Mario 64 and all of that, like I've always loved games that are games and just fun and colorful and just I don't know.
Yeah. Is there anything you would like to see the game do in the future? To like probably
I'll say
change
right
or
now,
grow.
I think they're doing pretty much everything right. I mean,
Yeah.
the issues that I had with the game initially were just kind of some of the net code and input latency stuff
M-
that has, from what I have seen, gotten fixed, or at least significantly better.
My favorite thing
And
about this new season is that there's no grabbing game. There's no new grabbing map, at least this season.
sure,
From what I've seen, at
Nice.
least.
slime climb.
Yeah. Oh well, there's a few
Don't knock
maps like that
Slime
one.
Climb. Slime Climb.
No, slime climb is just a grabbing game. Like,
No,
trying
I
to
was talking about
grab.
like the eggs and like the
Oh,
tails.
I thought you meant the grabbing meta.
No, no, no.
Where
I was
you're
talking about like the egg game, like those garbage ass games. There are plenty of maps like Slime Climb that they added.
gotcha.
Those are fun. It's the like hoard up eggs and make sure the other team doesn't have any. Those games that are not fun.
I hate those.
And then to add the ability for you to dress up as other game franchise mascots or characters, like they're
Godzilla.
doing everything right. They're doing everything right.
The
Yeah.
thing I don't understand though is how do Godzilla and there was another one that they added just recently. How do those look so good, but Sonic looks so bad?
It's because Sonic is not a jelly bean.
I don't.
You
I
know
don't.
what, Phil? I have a bone to pick with you.
Yeah.
Oh
What's
my
up?
god.
Your hatred for that Sonic costume is the
Why you
reason
didn't get
why I didn't buy it and now regret it.
Oh
And will
no.
regret it for the rest of my life.
No.
I would like to point out that you actually mentioned this. Not that it's my fault, but you mentioned that
Oh
you
no. Now you know it is your fault.
and that you would probably regret it if you didn't get it. And I specifically said, then get it if it's gonna make you happy, even though it's an ugly piece of garbage.
That's not what you meant. You know goddamn well that's not what you meant, Bill.
That's just like Nick Scorpino's wife telling him, like, talking shit about the shows he watches or the movies he
Sure,
watches. Then
sure.
you're just like, nah, I get it, and you're not wrong. It is a piece of shit. So I
But
don't
you
really
still want
regret
it though.
It's
Like
just-
it'll
it
make
would've
you
been
happy.
nice.
Like you
That's
still
all I'm
want that skin though. Like
No, you don't. You don't want that skin at
god damn
all.
it, Phil.
It's a trash can.
You know what? I'll just get the ninja skin. It's a 1 crown for the top and 1 crown for the bottom. It's fine.
There was a
Many
skin.
labels.
There was a skin that was added not that long ago that I was like, how come they couldn't do that for the Sonic skin? And it wasn't the Godzilla one. It was a different one. It might have been the Yeti. There was like a Yeti that they did recently.
I really hope they do a Crash Bandicoot skin because I think it'd be really funny with like the eyes coming out of the mouth.
Yeah, it's the season 3 Yeti guy skin. It looks so good, and I don't understand why they couldn't have done something like that for Sonic. I don't know. I don't know. It's fine. It's fine. It's so bad.
Shout out to Ben and Matt for getting messages on PSN saying go outside because they unlocked the Peabody skins.
It's true. You're not wrong.
So like I said before, is there anything you wish they would like add to the game to like improve it in your opinion now? Or would you say like it's perfectly fine the way it is?
I can't think of anything that can be added. Maybe
Or changed or just
have changed again the whole grabbing mechanic thing, but there's no going around that. Like people are gonna have shitty connections, and
yeah.
like no matter what.
No
you
matter how
do,
much
right?
Phil complains about the
So,
netcode.
Yeah, like there's nothing you can do about that. It's bound to happen. So I can't really think of anything.
So to you, that game is almost perfect for the game it wants to be.
For the game it wants to be, yes.
Not necessarily the game you wanted, but the game you deserve. Uh,
Yes.
I think that's really cool. I didn't initially think Fall Guys would be your game of the year. I know you love playing it, but I didn't know like that was gonna be your favorite, your game of the year. I didn't see
I
that coming.
sat down and went through all the games that I played this year, and there
Mhm.
weren't many.
Yeah,
It was mostly just online games like Predator, like Dreams, but it's even League. Like, but Fall Guys is the most fun I've had. And again, it was the whole thing about like I think the only reason I'm playing online games instead of jumping into a campaign is because I just want that,
yeah.
you know,
You want that
companionship
like
with friends. I want to be able to hang out
you don't
because I
want that
can't
much
do it in real
commitment to
life.
like a long campaign. You don't want that much commitment to a long campaign. You just want to be in and out, and you want that interaction with your friends.
Exactly.
It's awesome. Uh, Now we go on to Phil's game of the year. I'm not used to like going into somebody else's game of the year after hearing one, so I can't wait to see where this goes. Phillip J Woodward, what is your game of 2020?
It's Hades.
Oh, the
Nice.
second Hades. Uh, for people that don't know, what is Hades?
Hades is the fourth game developed by Supergiant since they were formed. They did Bastion, Transistor, Pyre, and now Hades. And it is kind of a culmination of everything that they have built up to this point. You play as Zagreus, who is the son of Hades, and you're kind of fed up with being trapped in the underworld. You want to escape, you want to get out of there. And throughout the course of this game, you find out so many great little story elements about the people that you're fighting against, about yourself, about the place you're trying to escape from. And you go through all these beautifully rendered and colorful environments with beautiful animations and the storytelling for, and to point out, this is a roguelike. This is a game where you die, you restart from the beginning, and you start over again. And yet somehow, no matter how many times you die, no matter how many times you um, kind of restart, you always feel like you're progressing. You always feel like you're getting a new story element. It's one of the most intricately and beautifully crafted games I think I've ever seen, both artistically, visually, writing. Greg Kasavin, the lead creative writer over at Supergiant. I think he might have a different title than that, but he's one of the main writers in that game. Uh, is just masterful at crafting the worlds that he builds. I mean, uh, Pyre got a lot of flack because it was like weird space basketball, or weird ethereal basketball. I don't know. Anyway, but the story in that game was so in depth and so cool and absolutely beautiful. And you can see the elements of Hades in that, and the combat in like Bastion, and the visual just aesthetic of Transistor. All these things are just coming together to create one of the most fantastic games I think you could even say ever made. And yeah, it's just absolutely wonderful.
So, like you said, in Hades, you play as Hades' son, right?
Yes, Zagreus.
Zagreus, and he wants to escape. Um,
Yep.
what I think is really interesting is the narrative of this story. Having not played it, just seeing like moments of it,
Mhm.
his interactions with many people or many characters throughout this game, and then like uh, not gonna spoil anything, but like towards the ending too, is just really fascinating. The storytelling and how well
Yeah.
it's written, like you were saying right
Yeah.
now. That the
And it's like even beating it, like that's not the end of the story. There's still
yeah,
new stuff to discover and things to unlock and gifts to give, and like there's so many things. It's crazy to think about how much they were able to develop around the core experience that you are just replaying over and over, and yet it still feels fresh every single time you go in.
Something I'm also a fan of is the beautiful character designs. Whoever was like the art director on this game did a really great job. Period. Like not just
Yeah,
the character designs, but like the whole game is beautiful.
she's been the art director for them pretty much since the beginning. Like they got her very early
Yeah,
on Bastion. Her name is Gen Z. Um, it's Jen, Jen space Zee, and her at is at 0 Gen Z 0. And she's an amazing artist, absolutely just beyond talented. And
yeah.
the way that her secondary artists and her 3D artists are able to kind of bring her drawings to life is absolutely incredible. And yeah, I love that they came up with this idea of not keeping the pantheon of gods to just Greek, because they're
Yeah.
gods. Like they were able to kind of craft these
Or
characters
just the
of
idea that they should be white or like white
right, yeah,
Aryan, like yeah.
yeah. They've got different ethnicities. They didn't stick to any one thing to design
Hmm.
these. They just created characters that embodied the elements of what they thought made that character. So like for example, Artemis the hunter, she's like in animal skins and she's got her bow, and it's just I don't know, just everything about the character designs in that game are just so full of life and just beautiful. And then of course the sound designer for the game
Yeah.
is absolutely amazing. um,
The music in the
and
game too is just beautifully orchestrated.
he it's so amazing to me how such a small team can do something so amazing, because I think there's less than 20 people that work for the studio, and that's at any capacity, not just major capacities. And it's just amazing what they're able to
Hmm.
accomplish in coding and 3D modeling
So,
and artistry and writing. And they're definitely the one of the companies to watch for, because if they ever expand and get bigger and decide to do something even crazier than what they're already doing now, like we're in for the time of our lives. Like it's just amazing to have seen and watch them grow over the past like 13 years, however long it's been,
so
11
did you play
years.
this game when it came out?
Hades, I originally played it back when it launched in 2018
Oh wow.
on the Epic Game
So
Store.
was this like early access or was it like still in
It was
development?
early access, and you could only go up through the Hydra fight.
Got it.
So they only had the two
Got it.
worlds implemented, and once you beat the Hydra, like that was it. And
Thank you for playing.
to go into just some of the cool stuff, like there are experiences within the development of that game that no one is ever going to get,
Oh
because they
wow.
wrote specific dialogue specifically for the early access stuff. I can't
Oh.
think of any of it off the top of my head,
But that's just for
but
you. Like only you can like enjoy or like claim to that dialogue.
yeah, exactly. Like there was, something about oh man, I wish I could remember one right now, but there was stuff that they wrote specifically because the game wasn't finished yet, or like, oh, I guess we'll see this area next time or something like that. Things like that just in the dialogue
That's
for the
funny.
game and whatnot.
Um
Um but
so
I count the game as something I played this year because
it
I
released this
stopped
year.
playing it very after the first time I got to the Hydra. I was like, okay, I know what this game is. I don't want to blow my entire experience. I want to wait till I get the full thing, and then when it dropped on Switch is when I bought it and I played through it.
Well, didn't it fully release this year?
Yes, yeah,
So
it came out
then
of early access this year.
then yeah, the you're fine for making it your game of the year because it was early access. Like the game wasn't even finished when you initially played it.
Right, it's just we were talking about
Yeah.
games. It could be any game that you played like
Uh
this
the
year and
reason I asked
touched.
you if when you played it is because you have an investment into this game then, going on 2
Yes.
years strong. For you knowing that this game was so long in development and like being a part of the development in a way, how did it feel for you to see an indie game that you loved represented at the Game Awards on the level like it could have won Game of the Year this year? Like,
It's incredible. I love whenever a game hits like that. Like what was the one Untitled Goose Game was the
Yeah.
one last year that
And the
I
year
thought
before
was
was
just really
Celeste.
cool. It kind of hit as hard as it did, and it's just awesome. I love seeing these smaller experiences getting noticed. It's well, like there's a certain point where we just need to stop calling them indie games
Yeah.
and just start calling them video games.
Because that's what they are at the end of the day. It's just made by a smaller team, but that doesn't make
Oh,
it any less
real
valuable.
quick, I want to give a special shout out to Return of the Oberdin. That's another honorable mention for me.
Oh,
Speaking of indie developers and creators, the Oberdin is freaking fantastic. Um, and it's a great narrative drama kind
You
of
were gonna
puzzle
say
game.
something else? Al, were you gonna
it's
say something?
definitely on my list. No, it's Return of the Oberdin is on my list. I wanted to ask you, Phil. I've never seen games where aesthetically, in terms of design, I was just in love with, but in terms of gameplay, the whole isometric view just puts me off. And would you
Sure.
say that Hades is one that I could get into, or should I go to back to like Pyre or something?
I think that you should at least give it a shot. I mean, the gameplay is a lot of fun. It's very action oriented. So even though it's an isometric viewpoint, it doesn't play like a Diablo or like any game like that. It plays like its own kind of thing. Um, and yeah, it's fantastic. I mean, I would at least recommend trying it.
What a politician.
Okay.
Um. So, um, another one of my favorite things about this game is like when it was really popping off. There was a tweet somebody made that was like, "This game made me question my sexuality." And I just think that's really funny. Like,
Nice.
That's
uh,
funny.
because I talked to Reaper about it, and he was like, "Dude, some of these characters, I just really needed to make sure, like, am I straight? Like, it's, uh,
I mean, all the characters are so beautifully designed
mm.
that no matter what your sexual orientation is,
You can
I
acknowledge that
feel
they're
I
beautifully well
feel like
done."
all of them will make you feel things.
Uh, but that aside, uh, would you say? Because you just said Resident Evil 3 could have been your game of the year had they added the content that they removed. Would you say that Hades needed something more to make it
No,
that much more? No.
no,
What
Hades is like a near perfect game for me.
what would have made
I
it
don't
perfect?
I don't know if they could have added something to that game to make it better.
Was it?
It's they have so many different things to unlock, so many things that make you feel like you're progressing, so many things, just little lore bits and story bits that are given to you both vocally and you know visually, that there's just so much content packed into this little package. Like all the weapons feel great, all of the boons for the weapons that you get feel great.
Mm-hmm.
You very rarely feel like you always feel like you have a good run, and some runs are better than others. You never really feel like you had a bad run,
Oh,
um, which is something you don't feel in a lot of roguelikes. Some like sometimes you get into a play and you're just like, oh, I might as well kill myself now because I don't want whatever's happening right now or whatever. But I never felt that way while playing Hades.
interesting. All right. Uh, so you definitely had a blast throughout the whole time.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't say enough good things about Hades. It's not, you know, they even okay, they even thought about the fact that this game is hard, but they gave something called God mode to the game where if you feel like you're bouncing off of it, kind of like how Celeste gave people the accessibility options.
Yeah,
um they were like, hey, this is how the game is meant to be played, but if you're really struggling or if you have accessibility issues, we wanted to include this mode so that you could still experience
that's
what
really
we were
cool.
trying to do. And Hades has that in God mode, where it basically makes it so that you can kind of just enjoy the story.
That's really
And
cool. Yeah, I didn't know about that.
Yeah, they thought of just about everything, and that's, I think that goes into something that I really would love if companies pushed for, like going back to Cyberpunk. I feel like had they released that game in early access instead of trying to release
Isn't that
it
what they
full
did?
retail, they could have, gotten way more feedback on bugs and how to fix them, and um, issues that the consoles were having while playing the games, and just so many things that would have helped, I think, a lot in the production of Cyberpunk if they had just released it in early access. And I really hope that in the future more companies normalize the idea of early access.
Hmm.
Um, and not hopefully to the detriment of a game, because we don't want things like Ark Survival Evolved where it never really feels like they completed that game and now they're moving on to Ark 2.
Hey, we got Vin,
um
baby.
There's an Arc animated series, by the way.
is there really?
Yeah,
Interesting.
it's also starring Vin Diesel.
I was about to say, does it star Vin Diesel?
Yes, and a bunch of
creative
other people. It's
creative CEFFOD dog of Ark 2.
DOOG. Yeah,
um but I hope that it does become more normalized in the future,
DOOG.
because I would love to see more games kind of take community feedback and
Mhm.
grow like Hades was able to do, because
Interesting.
yes, they had a lot of the plans already set in motion, but there was stuff like the ranged weapon in that game, that I'm not going to spoil just in case anybody hasn't played it yet.
It's a weapon that's
uh,
ranged. I was kidding.
that they weren't even sure they wanted in the game at first, but then they just found that magic sauce that made it feel good, you know? And that's, again, every single weapon that you unlock in that game just feels so good, especially when you get like some really cool boons that, send Poseidon's tidal waves out every single time you do something with it. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's just such a cool game. It's so cool.
That's awesome.
I haven't even played, and I got a lot of vibes of Celeste in terms of the the impact it's had.
100%. Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely things you could pull from for that. Absolutely. Yeah, they just, it's all about love and care, it's all about love and care.
That's
And
interesting.
it's kind of like a great, it's like the opposite of The Last of Us in a way.
Oh my god.
um where it's all about the pantheon of gods trying to help you escape Hades, and giving you boons to try and help you along your journey. And I don't know, it's really cool. It's really cool.
No matter what I do, I just can't escape The Last of Us Part 2. It's always there. Um, that's really cool. I definitely need to check that game out. You're like the fifth person to tell me to play Hades. But yeah, that's I didn't know that you played that game, but it makes sense that you played it and that you loved it so much because knowing your gameplay style, it just makes sense. Uh, but yeah, well with
And
that,
it was funny too, because I'm not a huge fan of roguelikes.
yeah,
Like, I like Rogue Legacy. I like Dead Cells.
hmm,
I like Children of Morta. Um,
but you're not a fan of
and
roguelikes.
what's that?
But you're not a fan of roguelikes.
Well, think about how many roguelikes there are, and think about how many I've named. And
That's
then,
more than
yeah,
I can
and then
name.
Hades, and there's one thing that all of those games share, and it's the sense of progression.
Got it.
Um, and Dead Cells is probably the most roguelike game that I've played, that I didn't bounce off of, um, because there is no getting more powerful in that game. It's just unlocking weapons for runs and figuring out what weapons work best for you.
Mhm.
It's not really about leveling up or powering up, or those sorts of things. Like Rogue Legacy, you're getting better armor, you're getting more health, you're getting all that stuff. And then Children of Morta is the same way, where you are like playing as these members of this family that level up as you get more experience, and you unlock new skills on a skill tree, and you go back to the home. And it's just if you
Yeah.
haven't checked that game out, it's also really cool. I wish more people were talking about it because it's similar to Hades in some ways, where it's got this progressive story. Every time you
Insurance?
go back to the beginning, there's new story elements that unlock, or new things that you unlock that unlock more story. It's really cool. Again, it is isometric combat. Al, sorry. But yeah, it, definitely Hades and Children of Morta. Check them out. They're cool.
Thank you for
Dead
bringing those
Cells
up.
isn't
What?
isometric.
Oh no, no.
Like, you can do
I was
robust
literally
stuff.
talking about Children of Morta. I was.
Hmm. I don't know. Maybe I'm shallow like that. If I see that view, it just puts me off. I don't know. I don't
Try
know what it
Hades.
is.
Try Hades.
I will.
If you try Hades and you hate
Stream
it, then I'll
Hades.
never recommend another isometric game to you ever again.
Okay.
Well, it was fascinating to hear what your games of the years were, gentlemen. But now I must ask you, what games are you looking forward to? And I think we shall start this one with let's go back to Phil with this one. Phil, what games? Well, it's because we did Phil, then Al. So it's like, let's go back to Phil.
Why
Phil,
don't we just start with Foul? Let's go.
you guys want to go back and forth?
Yeah, let's do it. So my most anticipated game, this shouldn't come to a shock to anybody
Last one,
after
picture.
what we've talked about, but Resident Evil 8.
Wow, who did that?
Who would have guessed?
Who'd have thunk that it?
There's a lot of reasons to be trepidatious about this game. There's a lot of reasons to be excited about this game. There's a lot of reasons to say that it looks like a PS3 game. I mean, sorry, PS4 game. I don't want to be that mean. I don't want to be that mean.
No, say it.
But needless to
PS2.
say, as excited as I am for this game, I know Al has some critiques as far as like visually and why this game isn't coming out on the PlayStation 4. And at this time, I have to completely agree that I really don't understand why this game is not multi-release, like multi-platform release,
That honestly
because
is
it doesn't
upsetting.
feel like they're doing anything that is truly next gen.
That makes me really sad because I was looking forward to playing it. Al,
Wait, why
You
would
weren't.
why would you be less excited?
because I don't have a PS5.
It's still gonna be great.
He's
I,
lying.
I
You were never excited to play Resident Evil 8.
I
Cesar.
was. I love RE7.
Okay.
He loves watching Twitch people play.
I love watching gameplays of RE7. So for RE8, I want to play that game blind. Like I want to play that game like when it comes out, before I have a chance to watch anybody else
I'm
play.
so excited.
But so we'll jump back and forth. Al, what is the game you're looking forward to?
I'll stick with my theme of just online multiplayers. I can't wait for Back for Blood. And
All
Phil,
right.
you were talking about early access or early, yeah.
Oh yeah,
is it
isn't there like an early
Early
access thing right now for Back for Blood?
When I hear that, I'm just upset I couldn't access Back for Blood before it was too late. So
I agree.
I don't know how that works, but yeah, get me in there. I want to get in there. A huge Left 4 Dead 2 fan.
For Back for Blood, and I did not get a code, and I'm very sad because I really want to play that game, and it looks amazing.
You guys were
I
like in the
watched
wrong Twitch chats. I was in a Twitch chat and somebody was like, "Yo, I have like 20 codes for Back for Blood if anybody wants them." And it's like,
That's cool. What about the people that signed up? God, it's so annoying. It's so annoying. Just give me a
Do
code.
they have codes for console as well?
No, just PC right now.
oh,
There
then you
go.
wouldn't have been
So
able.
I'm out.
Yeah,
either
you wouldn't have
way,
been able
like,
to play it
I'm-
anyways,
But-
Al.
But I will say that Back for Blood is one of those games that I feel like could absolutely benefit from an early access period
Yes.
where they kind of let people play it and refine it and help with the AI director and the deck system and things like that, because I can definitely see that if you're developing that game in a closed loop scenario where you've only got internal testing, that's not a big enough sample size to really figure out exactly what that game needs for the deck system and everything to be super fun. So that is absolutely a game I could see benefiting from early access.
Did you play the Left 4 Dead series, Phil?
100%.
We've talked about this, I'm sure. Yeah.
If
There's nothing I miss more. If like we talked about Friday the 13th, I loved that. But to take us back to like zombies and asymmetric games with zombies, I'm all in. I can't wait. I'm so excited for that.
if
Yeah.
Phil didn't play Left 4 Dead, I'd be more shocked than anything. Because that is a game I would expect for Phil to like have platinumed if it had a platinum.
Yeah, I played it on PC, but yeah, absolutely.
There were
Uh,
achievements, 1,000 gamer score you could get.
Sure,
It's
but
not
I
the same.
don't care about Steam achievements. You know what? Let's look.
Steam
Let's look.
achievements by like if we're being honest, Steam achievements are not fun. But yeah, I feel like what has a lot of promise for you guys is that it's made by the same people that made Left 4 Dead. So that's if anything, that's nothing but good science.
That there's actually something funny to that. I saw a post on, was it Jeff Grubb? Someone posted how much they were enjoying the game or whatever, and someone in the comments section of the Twitter post or the Twitter replies said it's just a Left 4 Dead clone. Oh, it was, and then Cal Jenkins,
Wow, who
Khalif,
would have thought?
right, Khalif Adams, um, posted that should I tell him? Question mark. And it just reminded me of when the new Tomb Raider stuff came out.
That's like
And
telling a kid he looks like his mom. Like, yeah, no shit. Like, what do you?
yeah, exactly. But yeah, so there was when the new Tomb Raider stuff came out, there were kids that were like, "Oh, this is just a ripoff of Uncharted," and it's like, guys, you know what Uncharted was inspired by, right? Right? But yeah.
However, though, Phil, what if this turns out to be another Dangerous Driving? Because everyone from Criterion was
Nope.
there.
That's a good
Very
point.
different.
That's a good point.
No. This is very different. So the big difference between
Ukulele.
Dangerous Driving and Burnout is the fact that it's not the same company. This is literally the same company. This is Turtle Rock. These are the people who actually developed Left 4 Dead from the ground up. They still have access to that technology. They're still using, I believe they're still using the Source 2 engine.
They don't have access to Valve's pockets, though.
They don't need to, because they've already built 90%. Have you seen the gameplay for this game? It is literally Left 4 Dead. Like, you even have the same like starting rooms. Like, I feel like they just took the original source code for Left 4 Dead,
Isn't it coming to like PS4 exclusively or
it's going
PlayStation
PS4,
exclusively?
PS5, Xbox.
Oh, so it doesn't
and
have an exclusivity contract? Okay, yeah. If it had an exclusivity contract, then I would say that competes with the Valve thing.
And it's already pre-orderable on Epic. It's already pre-orderable on Steam. Like,
Oh wow.
No, I
Can't
have
wait.
zero doubt that this is going to be exactly what we wanted from Left 4 Dead 3.
Dude, I do too. I had to play
See?
Devil's Advocate.
Have you seen
It's
any of the
just-
gameplay?
Ha 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 ha.
Have
I
you
caught that
seen
one now.
at all so far that's been released since the alpha?
No.
You need to go
not
watch.
since- I'll
You'll
go and
just
watch
be
it.
like,
for
this
sure.
is Left 4 Dead. This is exactly what I want.
But
Whereas
no. But is this Left 4 Dead now in 2020 or 2021? I mean, or is this like Left 4 Dead from what we remember? If that makes any sense.
This is, it's Left 4 Dead. it's Left 4 Dead with some new kind of ideas
Right. Okay.
and better graphics.
I know Kind of Funny released something.
Yeah, watch
them playing
watch
it. So
the kind of funny thing. I recommend
I'll go watch that.
at least doing that. Maybe we can do a watch along later and watch it
Nice.
together.
Oh my god.
Yes,
We're gonna
I'm
watch
all down
along
for
to a
that.
Let's Play. All right.
Shh. It's just Al and I, okay?
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. You should
I mean, you
stream
can
it
come
on the
too.
Simply Sassy Twitch.
You're gonna be mean about
We're taking over your server, Cesar.
it.
That's fine. I don't use it.
I don't honestly. I'm trying to figure out how to get to Steam achievements, and I don't remember how.
I
It doesn't
played it
matter.
on Xbox, so when I was talking about 1,000 gamer score, I was mainly referring to Xbox achievements, which were the original trophies, by the way.
All right, sure, whatever.
I'm
Anyways,
not. I'm not
no, I
gonna
know, I know
argue
you're
with
not.
you.
I know you're not starting anything or whatever. It's just like I know. I'm just more indoctrinated to ask Phil about trophies because he plays on
No, but
PlayStation.
the whole thing, the whole joke was about we don't know if there were trophies back in Left 4 Dead. There were. It's like the whole Uncharted Tomb Raider thing. There were what inspired trophies. Yes.
Yeah, 100%.
That's all I'm
Oh,
saying.
here we go. Holy crap! There are 101 achievements in Left 4 Dead 2, and there are 73 in Left 4 Dead.
How many did you get?
Nice.
75.
I have 42 out of the 73. And I can guarantee you most of the stuff I don't have is probably related to
The very
multiplayer.
specific stuff. It's like the very specific stuff. They like kill a zombie with fucking a shotgun and a grenade.
So like kill 5,359 infected in the Crash Course campaign. Where it's like, I mean, you're playing a lot of the game at that point. Kill 53,595 infected. If you know what that reference is, that's awesome. If not, that's still awesome.
How many?
53,950, or no, sorry, 50. Where did it go? I lost it. It's 53,595.
So very quickly to keep going through the list of games we're looking forward to. Phil, what's your next game that you're looking forward to?
Um.
I love that game. Looks great.
Gosh, what am I excited for next year? It's hard. This is a hard question because I feel like
It doesn't even have to be next year. Just like any game that you know that exists is coming.
Going to launch. I mean, obviously, I'm super excited for Monster Hunter Rise on the Switch. I mean, I already have the collector's edition of that pre-ordered.
Yep.
But yeah.
Al,
So just so I can get this out of the way real quick, it's a reference to Dead Rising, by the way. Just so, since I didn't hear anybody say it. There was an achievement in Dead Rising where you had to kill 53,954 or 5.
Phil,
Nice.
Phil, I love you because we didn't say anything. We didn't say like we wanted to hear where the reference was. We were like, I'm gonna find it, and I'm gonna.
I didn't need to find it. I just wanted to wait until we had.
Yes, Al, you have a question.
I was waiting for Phil
Al
to
from
let us know because I was.
Al from the Sibley Sassy. Question.
Press pool.
Presspool, yeah. I was waiting for you, Phil. I was waiting for you to come back and give us more.
No, but we
info on
didn't
that
say
number.
we didn't say we were waiting for him. Phil was just like, I'm gonna look for it.
Like I said, I didn't actually need to look for it. I was just waiting. I wanted to give you guys enough time to like either come across it or think about it or tell. No, I was trying to figure out what games come out next year.
Oh, Al, do you have any like final games you're looking forward to?
I have a bunch, but not as high on my list as Back for Blood for sure. Monster Hunter Rise is on my list thanks to you, Phil. Medium, Returnal.
The medium is one that I'm excited for.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're the second person to bring up Returnal.
We'll get to Silent Hill forever.
You're the second person to bring up Returnal, Al.
Thank you, buddy. Who's this? Who's the
Reese
the
boy
person?
I'm pretty excited to see Housemarque do something a little different.
Ooh, Deathloop. How could I forget?
Oh yeah.
I am a huge Arcane Studios. So are you, Phil, fan?
Yep.
Damn, Phil, and you totally forgot that game existed. How dare you?
It's not that I.
How dare you?
Okay,
That's
I
a
have
Phil last game if I've ever seen one.
I have a habit of kind of trying not to think about games. Otherwise, I just kind of obsess over them. So
That's
if they're not
fun,
out
though.
yet, what's that?
That's part of the fun.
No,
Just like
no, my
obsessing
wife
over
hates
games
it. My wife
that
hates it.
you get your hopes up and then when they come out you're disappointed sorely. Is that not
Exactly.
normal?
It's like Cyberpunk. Um,
Anyways, that's the loop.
yeah, Deathloop looks amazing. I think, weirdly enough, I think that game is going to be a lot different than people are anticipating.
I agree.
It seems like from what I've seen, it's going to be smaller experiences. Like each level is going to kind of be like this own small puzzle-like experience. It's not going to be like a one run and done sort of game.
Where you have a mission
Um,
and you just like rewind time to restart that mission over and over again to make sure you get the puzzle right.
I
Yeah.
have a feeling it's going to be more similar to Hitman than it is going to be to something like Dishonored, like the new Hitman,
To me, it feels like
where
it's like related to Super Hot in a way, if that makes sense.
I don't know if it's going to be that short.
Not like that, but like you have an objective to do, and if you don't do it in a certain amount of time, you have to like move on or start over.
Have you
In
ever
this
played
case,
Hitman before?
huh?
Have you ever played Hitman before?
No.
Okay, so I highly recommend checking some videos about Hitman out, because what that game does is it drops you into this clockwork world, and you have to find a way to efficiently assassinate your target and then leave.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that is kind of what this game is going to be, except there's going to be more of a puzzle aspect to it,
What
because you're going
makes
to.
you say that, Phil?
What do you mean?
No, I mean, what makes you think that it's going to be shorter experiences?
So there's a trailer that came out not too long ago
The one about the
where,
scientist.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
where it talks about um, him going through these different timelines or these different like loops where he kills the guy first, but then he doesn't have enough time to kill someone else within the same time period. But if he does things a certain way and makes the scientist not able to do a thing that he's supposed to be able to do, he gets to go to the place that he's supposed to go to and kill both of them at the same time.
Yeah, he's basically like every morning
Right.
he makes a new scientific breakthrough. So if you interrupt that breakthrough, he can go to this party that he was invited to, and both bad people will be at the same place. I think the trailer is called like
Yeah,
Two Birds in One Stone. I think that's like what the
something. Yeah,
Yeah.
and then at the very end it talks about like, the different targets, and it just gives me this vibe that these targets are going to be different segments, like you're going to get 3 targets in one, 3 targets in another, and 3 targets in another, or something like that. But I don't know, I don't 100% know. They haven't given us enough to really know for sure whether it's going to be segmented or open world or whatever else. But that's just the feeling or vibe that I get from the way that that trailer plays out. So we'll see.
You know what's funny? When you were saying that, I was thinking, no, don't. I don't want that. Because I want to be immersed like I was in Dishonored. And then I thought, well, this isn't Dishonored.
it's a different
Maybe
experience.
for this, it's going to be completely different. I'm okay with Hitman because I enjoy Hitman. I'm okay with those shorter experiences. So, yes, I'm definitely. I would be down for that.
I think it's the
But it,
thing where it's like you're a mercenary and you have a choice of missions that you choose which mission you're gonna play, and then the narrative progresses as you choose more objectives to go on as you choose more
so
missions to play.
think about it this way: if you were playing a single experience and you had these 8 targets that you needed to kill, but every single time you died, you went back to the very beginning,
That sounds like hell, if I'm being honest. Like I don't.
right? Like you get to the 7th or 8th target, you're like 4 hours in, and then all of a sudden you get killed like that, and then you're back
Like
to the
I'll
very
shoot
beginning.
myself at that point. Like I don't want.
So that's another reason why I think it's going to be these smaller experiences. But yeah, definitely Deathloop for sure.
Anyways,
You are okay. There we go. I was
no,
gonna say you were not talking.
no, I wasn't talking. I was just like, giving you a chance to say anything if you're going to say anything. But anyways,
Nope.
thank you, gentlemen, for joining me for this discussion.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. It's a lot of
now
fun.
was like your 15 seconds to sell whatever it is you want. Let's go, Al then Phil.
We're pretty much gonna sell the same thing, more or less.
Well,
So I'll go with.
let's go Phil first, so you can do the OU pod,
Okay.
whatever it is.
Yeah, so I can be like, well, don't forget to check out the official unofficial podcast starring Al the Predator Tribesman, Erica, and Ben. Please be excited. You can go to theoupod.com to check that out. They're wonderful over there. You can go to the Simply Sassy YouTube channel as well as the Simply Sassy Twitter account. And check us out there. And then there's me over at Phil, that's 2 L's, J Woodward on Twitter, and that's where you can find me and all my cool stuff.
What Phil said.
Yeah, ditto. Thank you again for joining me for this discussion, and thank you, listeners.
Thank you for having us, Cesar.
I keep forgetting to let people talk during that moment. But thank you so much for joining me. And thank you, listeners and viewers, for indulging us as we talked about our favorite games this year. And I hope to see you again next time. Bye bye.
I can't wait to see all the thumbs downs
Oh,
for our Last of Us hate.
I think you'd be surprised.
Maybe.